Hello and welcome to Velocity. My name is Bengt Nilsson. Today I'm going to show you how Velocity can help you decide when to start a new project. But to give you a little bit of background information, I will give you some insights first. So when you come into Velocity, you have all your projects there and you can view them. So you have the project status of all the projects, and you can see the delivery date shown here, the planned target date. That's the blue dot here. And there is a color for each project indicating at what risk that project is of missing the target date or being late. So we can see what is this. So if we can show that each of these delivery dates is protected by something which in critical chain terminology is called a buffer. You can also think of it as a shock absorber. So you take the remaining work that needs to be done in the project and you see whether it is done in time or not for the delivery date. If it's very close, if it's utilizing this buffer or shock absorber, it will be red. If there's a lot of margin, it will be green. And if the margin is somewhat used, or the buffer is somewhat used, it will be yellow. So let's look into a specific project. So here we have this project that is in the red. It's called Order 420 Customer CCD. So let's look at that project. So we go to that project plan. So we can look it up in the database. I've already done that. So here we have the project. Here we have the delivery date, the 19th of October. And we can see here is this buffer or shock absorber. And we can see here is a critical path remaining, or a critical chain of events that is into this buffer, 83%. And so the tasks on this chain, they are red, because they are in the red zone. Other tasks, like this one, has lots of slack. So it is in fact still in the green zone, whereas these two are quite close to becoming critical, so they are yellow. So it means that in Velocity, you see not only the risk of a project of being late, but you actually can identify what tasks within the project are responsible for that situation and what tasks are not. So you know what to hurry up and where there is what is not so time critical. Okay, so this gives you a little bit of understanding of the information you see when you look into Velocity. So we will keep this in mind when we look at the real problem we are going to look at. So if we go back to the project status, so what we saw were all the decided projects and their target dates. Okay, so now we're going to add that we also have some future projects, some that we keep in what we call future scenarios. So we will include that. So we have a scenario called Future G Project. We add that, and we can now see these projects. So these are the ones that don't belong to a pipe. So we see them here at the bottom. So what we now want to do is decide when is it sensible to start these projects. Now, if we start them too early, they will interfere with the ongoing projects. They will compete for the critical resources that the ongoing projects are using, and they may put them at risk of being late. But on the other hand, if we start it too late, then of course the time available for the project to meet its target won't be sufficient. So we need to find exactly when to start the project to not interfere in the ongoing, but still meet its own commitment. So let's find out how to do that. So what we do is we go to the load situation, because this is all about resource management. Do we have the resources at the right time or not? So we go to the load graph, and we can see the load from all our projects. Well, this is not saying so much. We can see that we have higher load here and lower load in the future, and this is of course because we have not started the future projects yet. Okay, so what is interesting here now is if we add these new projects that we want to start, we can have the load, and in gray we now have these new projects on top. So what is interesting is if we run into a bottleneck when we start these new projects. So we can see that of course here when we have this very high load, it's interesting. So we zoom in on that area and we can open up this now in what we call a bottleneck view. So we can look at this bottleneck, what groups are loaded. So if we look now here, we can see that G production is the most loaded group in this area. We can see G design and some other product equipment is also highly loaded. So we keep that in mind. Okay, so we go back to the load graph. And we had our projects. So we look at it again. And then we over here saw something really interesting. Here was also an area with a very high load. So we look at that. We look at that as a bottleneck again. We just want to look at the group level. So we summarize the load, and we can see that here it's production equipment that is the critical one. And we can see that this is the load that the ongoing projects have. This is with our additional need, and we can see that we are really loading this. So production equipment is a potential bottleneck. Okay. So having knowledge about this, we can now go to something called pipeline new projects. And we now select this scenario where we keep our future projects. And we select production equipment. And we can look at what we have. So let's give a little bit more room here. Okay, so what we now see here in red, yellow and green, we have the load from our current projects. And the reason why they have these colors is because some of these tasks are in the red, as you know, some are in the yellow, some are in the green. But this is the load from what we have already decided. Now, the problem is that we, over here, week 46, 47, we already have an overload from our current projects. So if we now would start these as well, these are the new projects, and in orange and this blue color, we now see the load from those. We can see we are really overloading the situation. So what we're now going to do is say it's not so wise to start these projects at that time. So what we can do now is pull them. So let's first pull the blue one out of this. Now, when we pull it, we would like to see where are the tasks. So we can see it's at the end of the project where we are using this production equipment. So we want to move that now a little later. So we grab the project and we move it. And we can now see that now it's below this line here. Okay, so we now also take the orange one and we want to see those tasks as well, where they are. So we can see this task is the one giving this load up here. So let's move this task to when it ends up here. So we take that and we say this should do it. And we see, okay, now we are below, now we have a reasonable situation. So we could start this one. So we can check these dates now. So the orange project, we could start on the 19th of September, and the blue one we could start on the 24th of September. So this is what our analysis gives us. Now, to be sure, we can also check the other resources. We saw that G-Design was also highly loaded. So let's look at that. So we can see here that, yeah, we have some high load on G-Design, but this is not so bad with these on top of that. And we can look at G-Software, which also was quite highly loaded. And we can see what it looks like. No problem at all. Here we have them over here, and the load is really over there. So no problem. Okay, so I think we are happy with this positioning. So rather than starting today, so today is the 8th of September, we delay it a couple of weeks here, which means that these will not interfere with the ongoing, but it will still meet the need, which is before March 1st. Okay, so when we now have decided this, we can reschedule these. We can actually check that what we did, we put it on the start of a Tuesday. Let's change that, so we put it on the start of the Monday instead, like that. Then we take this one, and it ended up on a Sunday. Okay, let's move it to the Monday, and we reschedule that one. So what has happened now is we have moved these. The new start date is now the 18th and the 25th, and we have these new target dates that are now protected with the buffers. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this, and that you see the potential how velocity could help you to not overload your portfolio, but find the right date so that you can have a very fast project execution with minimal interference between your different projects. Okay, thank you very much. That will be all for today. Bye.